Hi, today we'll be talking about mating with a king and a queen against a king. And there's two mating patterns. First, you have the queen right in front of the black king, and the black king is cornered on the edge of the board. So if we have the king on the corner, then the queen could also be on g7, and then you have a king on g6. The king always has to be on the edge of the board because you can't mate a king on the second rank, because then it could just go back. Like if there was an extra rank, like a 9th rank, then the black king could go to d9 or f9. So the other mating pattern is where you could bring the queen over to b8, or you could bring it over to g8, and basically there's one thing to avoid: the stalemate here that is created when you bring the queen over to either d6 or s6, because right now you have a barrier where the white queen controls the dark squares on the diagonal, so, and obviously the white king functions like a rook, so the only move the black king has is f7, but there's a white king there, so that's stalemate. So that's the only thing to avoid. Now let's look at this position. When it comes to mating with a king and queen, it's easy, and lots of people know that eventually the black king is going to get mated, but perfecting your technique is one of the most important things when it comes to king and queen checkmates. I used to be someone that always just liked to bring the queen closer and closer, but would always leave the queen backward. I mean, would always leave the king backward, like on the corner, just sitting there. But everyone knows you cannot mate unless the mating piece is protected. If it's up front, like, you can't mate unless you have the king, because the king creates the necessary barrier. Like if we go back here, this barrier protects the queen, so this is untouchable. So the king cannot go here to capture the queen, which is the checking piece. And here, after queen to b8 checkmate, there's a barrier here because of the king. So you need to have the king to checkmate, and in both situations you have the king on the 3rd rank. So right now the king isn't even on the 3rd rank, so we need to get that going as fast as possible. Now you want to make a box, right? So the thing is, we don't worry about the box until the king is close to the middle of the board. Like right now we gotta get the king to b2. Okay, so the king wants to go to the middle to make himself as hard as possible to checkmate. If he goes to the 7th rank, such as d7, then we just bring the king closer anyway. We gotta get the king close. So the king will try to prevent us from playing king d5, but then we'll just play king c3, getting the king closer. Now the king has only a few moves here. It can stay on king e5, or it can go to king c5, but king c5 is the easy case, because then we could just play queen to f5, like king c5, queen f5, the king has to go back, and then after something like king c6, king c4, king d6, and then, or actually after king c6, I would play king to d4. So now the king has to go back again. It can't stay on the c file or the 6th rank. It has to go back, because if king d6, then queen f6, or if king b5, oh, I can't even go there. If king c6, then queen to c8, and that makes the box smaller. So right now the king has to go to e5, and like we said, if the king goes back to the 6th rank, then we play king to d4, bringing it closer, king f6, and now we can make the box smaller, because the king can't get any closer. It could go to king to d5, however, and that also works, king to d5, because if king d5, the only move due to this barrier that the queen has and the king barrier, we push the king backwards. So it could go to king to g5, for example, and in that moment we could play king to e5. So that's also another mating pattern. As long as you can push the king back with every move, you'll be good. So back to queen to e4. Now king f7, king to e5, king g7, and followed by king to f5, king to f7, queen to b7, and now you're on the last rank. So all you have to do now is one more move, and followed by mate on d7, e7, or f7. So depending on where it goes, like king d7, then even queen b8 checkmate, or queen to d7, which is a typical pattern. If king to f7, then king to f8, queen to f7 checkmate. So that's just one of the possible mating patterns. Back to the position after queen to e4, king f7, king e5, king g7. Well, like we said, he could go to king e7 instead, but then we could just push him back to the rank. If king d8 now, then checkmate in 2 moves. So the objective is to get him to the back rank. Let's go back to the position after king e5. Now king f4. The other possibility is king d5. So then we just push him back. So right now we have a barrier, and we want to keep this barrier going. So we could play queen to e8, and if king e6, then king d4. And now he has to go back. There's another effective barrier that forces one move. King to c7, king c5, king to b7, then queen to d7. And now he only has king to a6 to make his life harder. Now, this is the stalemate I was talking about. If you play queen to c7, then the barrier is b7, a7, b6, a5, and also b5 and b4. The king is on a6, so it can't move anywhere. So you could do something that looks like a rook checkmate, which I will give in a next video. You want to force the king somewhere. Like right now we have a barrier, and if we can force the king here, then we could just play queen to a6 checkmate. So we could just move anywhere on the 7th rank except the c7. So after king to a5, queen to a7 checkmate. So back to the position after queen g6, king f4. Now you bring the king closer, king d4, king f3, queen g5. So you're making the box smaller. King f2, and now you're making the box smaller again by queen to, after king e2, then you can make the box smaller by playing queen to g2. And so he has to play king to f1. But then we can play queen to h2, king to e1, king to d3, king to d1, queen to h1 checkmate. So just like that, that's mate. I want to see if there's a faster checkmating pattern after king e2. And actually there is, because right now we have a barrier here. And the cool thing about the barrier is that you don't have to have the king right in front of the king to push him back when the queen goes to that file. Like right here, the king can't go to f3 because of the queen barrier. So right now he has to go back to d1 or e1, and this is the most important pattern to understand, because now after king to d1, then king to d3 followed by mate. So back to the pattern after queen g5. So after king f2, now we play queen to g4. He has to go back. This is a typical stalemating pattern, but there's one more rank, so he has to go back. King e1, king e3, king to f1, and now this is the same thing as before, queen g5, or even actually queen g7, threatening mate on both a1, and if king e1, then queen g1 checkmate. So king e1, queen e1 checkmate, or queen to a1 checkmate. Now one thing I do want to go over is some examples. Like, I have this cool practice that I use. It's called endgame bot, and it's found on the free internet chess server, which is basically like the internet chess club but for free. And this is what it does. It gives me a random position. Like here, the king is trapped on the last rank after queen to g2. So endgame bot moves here, and now it says white can mate in 3 moves. Well, one, we move, well, we go here, that's 1 move, 2 moves, and then 3 moves. So if I want another position, I'll just say, hey endgame bot, give me another position. So that's what it does. So right now, see that the king is far away. So what you want to do is, you don't really have to bring the queen closer, okay? Like we talked about, you could just play king b2. But it tells me that there's a faster mate, and there is a faster mate because after let's see, I can tell it to go back. So it says that the faster mate is queen g3 and then king h2, but actually there's an even faster mate than that. So if we go back, then I can tell it to give me a hint. So it says try queen to a3 to b2. So that makes a barrier along the second rank, so there's nothing they can do. And so we could just see that after king b1, king g1, king c1, king f1, that might not be mate, because let's see. Oh, actually, now there's mate. So you move the queen to g7. So that's 1 move, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so that should work. Okay, so this is the easiest one. Although, if we go back and we say there's a hint, then king to b1, king g1, and now, okay, now it makes sense. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it keeps telling me to move the king here, and if we keep doing that, then let's see, how can I possibly deliver mate in 2 moves? Let's see, so this is a mate in 2. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. After king to f2, then we have our first mating pattern, queen to h8. So yeah, there's mating patterns that you can go for. You can go for the mating pattern with the king on the 3rd rank, and followed by the queen in front, or you can go for the one where the king is on the 3rd rank again, and you have the queen deliver mate far away, kind of like a king and rook checkmate, like this one. So that's also important to look out for. So let's do a few more. So here's another one, and it looks similar to the one before. So that's actually the same one. I think I picked the same one. Hold on. Okay, so here's a different one, and now it says that white can mate in 5 moves. Well, we can create a barrier by playing queen to d6, and then he has to play king to b5 or king b3, pushing him back. So endgame bot says white can mate in 4 moves now, so that means that I made the right move. So it'll tell you this, and now we can push him back even further by playing, let's see, we have a barrier here, so we can play queen to c5, and see, now he's backward. So white can mate in 3 moves, and yeah, it's true. King c1. Oh wait, no, that doesn't work. Actually, 1, 2, 3. So you saw that I watched out for stalemate in this moment, because if I play king to c3, it's stalemate. So let's do another one. So this is really important to practice, because when you're playing blitz and you have a king and queen and you only have 5 seconds to checkmate. It's really annoying when you lose and you had a totally won position, but you just don't have the technique to finish it off, and those are rating points that just go away, and that's another win that escapes. So this is definitely important to practice, and also it could help you over the board when you're playing even in the middle game, because then you notice the barrier that the queen creates. Like right away I can see that there's a barrier along this b7 h1 diagonal and the b file in the 7th rank. So now we can actually deliver mate in 4 moves here. So let's think about it for a minute. Yeah, so we can deliver mate in 4 moves. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's another one. Well, this is easy. White to mate in 1 move, so you could just play over here. I mean, right away notice because the king is on the 3rd rank and the king is cornered on the back rank. So let's do another one. Okay, so white can mate in 7 moves. So my idea is to play the queen here, but it still says white can mate in 7 moves, so obviously that's not right. If we play king to d2, then it tells me that it's correct, and just like I discussed, that you do want to bring the king closer, even if it looks like this king is getting closer to the board, because we just push him back after king e3. Well, actually that's not the best move, so let's go back. Let's see. Oh, queen to e7. So now we can play king to e3, king to f3, king to f4, and we're creating the barrier. So let's see what now. 2 move mate. Right here. Okay. So practice is very important, because it's easy to know all of this, but if you don't practice it, then it's difficult. And endgame bot in the free internet chess server really helps a lot. So white can mate in 7 moves. So my idea is king to d3, king to d4, king to d5, and queen to c5. Well, actually that's not, I knew that wasn't the best move because the queen gets in the way, but we could just play king to d5, or actually no, not that either. That barrier, that would only work if I could play queen to b3, but I could play queen to c. Queen to c8, because if king to b5, then queen to b7, and that's made in 3 moves, because after queen b7, king to a4, king to c4, king to a3, then king to b3. So this is again the checkmating pattern you always have to watch out. The stalemating pattern you gotta watch out for. But let's see. Let's go back because it says I messed up. Let's see. Let's go back. Okay, so right here, white can mate in 5. Okay, king b5. So king b6. Okay. Never mind. Okay, so queen c8, but that's not the best move. It says here that the best move is queen c6, because if king to a5, then queen to b7, followed by king to c4, and then queen to b3 checkmate. Now he's going the other way. So there's a 3-move checkmate. And this one is easy. Let's do 2 more. So we have this pattern here. Okay, so this is easy. Just push the king there and bring the king closer, and there you go. So let's do the last one. Oops, okay, so this is easy again, so I'm going to skip it. Let's do another one. I'm looking for one of those hard ones where the king's in the middle. Just like this one. This one's okay. So white can mate in 6 moves. I can push the king back like this. And now we push the king back even further. Yeah. Oh wait, that's not it. I totally overlooked something. I totally overlooked he can go back to king f5. So yeah, 1, 2. That doesn't work either. I'm overlooking things. So this is why endgame practice is so important. So let's go back and think about it. Let's go back. Okay, so there's a mate in 5. Okay, yeah, so just like before, we push the king to e4, queen to f4, but that's not it either. So let's go back again. Okay, so king to e4. Oh, okay, so this is a tricky compression. Queen to h4, it doesn't work either, so it's like I'm missing all the moves. So the hint says that I should try playing this. Of course, that's important to remember, this pattern right here, because obviously the king can't go to f5 to escape after queen to g6, and if king to g2, then queen to h4, followed by queen to g5 and queen to e1 checkmate. So now we can play king to f3 and then queen to g4. So that's it on king and queen versus king checkmates. You want to make sure you get the king into the action, and then you can use the queen. So hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like the video if you liked it, and the donate link is in the description for PayPal if you want to donate, if you felt like you got value out of this video. So I'll see you in the next one.